The plasma fire had died to embers across the mining platforms of Kepler-440b, and Commander Zara Okafor crouched behind the twisted wreckage of what had been a cargo hauler. 12 hours ago, her tactical display showed 17 red dots where her unit used to be all gone. The 18th dot, her own, pulsed weakly in the corner of a maintenance bay overlooking the main extraction site. The Kefmer had come alone, as they always did, a single crystalline nightmare standing 3 meters tall, its six-limbed form moving with predatory grace across the industrial complex. Zara had read the reports from 17 previous colonies, entire settlements reduced to silence by solitary hunters like this one. The creature's exoskeleton caught the light of Kepler-442's twin suns, creating fractal rainbows across surfaces slick with hydraulic fluid and worse things. Lieutenant Park had lasted the longest, managing to dodge the creature's razor wire tendrils for nearly 20 minutes before being cornered near the main drill. Sergeant Chen had tried explosive charges they'd barely scratched the thing's crystalline hide. Morrison had attempted to use the mining lasers, but the Kefmer moved like liquid mercury, always 3 steps ahead of targeting systems designed for stationary rock faces. Now it was just Zara and the monster that had systematically dismantled her team with what seemed like supernatural precision. But something nagged at her xenobiologist training, something about the way it moved. This wasn't random slaughter. The creature followed patterns, almost ritualistic in their execution. Each kill had been different, as if it were testing them. Zara's breath caught as the Kefmer suddenly stopped its prowling and tilted its wedge-shaped head toward her hiding spot. Those clusters of eyes like black diamonds fixed on her position with unsettling intelligence. It knew exactly where she was and had known all along. The creature took 3 deliberate steps toward her, then stopped again, waiting, against every survival instinct screaming in her mind. Zara stood up, her plasma rifle hung useless at her side. She'd seen what conventional weapons did to these things, nothing. But as she watched the Kefmer's stance, she noticed something extraordinary. The way it held its primary limbs, the angle of its carapace, the subtle shift of weight between its back legs. It matched almost perfectly the combat stance described in the ancient Therian manuscripts she'd studied during her xenoarchaeology doctorate, on impulse born of desperate curiosity rather than tactical thinking. Zara slowly raised her arms and shifted her feet, mimicking the formal challenge position she'd read about in texts older than human civilization. The Kefmer went perfectly still for long seconds. Predator and prey regarded each other across the silent mining platform. Then, with movements precise as clockwork, the creature lowered its head in what could only be described as a bow of acknowledgement. 3 days later, Zara sat cross-legged on the floor of Mining Bay 7, a steaming cup of recycled coffee growing cold in her hands. Across from her, the Kefmer, who had somehow communicated that its name translated roughly to Sekthal the Eternal, remained motionless in what she'd learned was a meditative posture. The breakthrough had come when she'd started sketching mathematical sequences in the dust. The creature had responded by creating intricate geometric patterns with its clawtips, patterns that seemed to incorporate principles of advanced physics she barely understood. They'd moved on to stellar cartography next, using debris to map out sectors of the galaxy. To her amazement, Sekthal's knowledge extended far beyond anything in human databases. "Your people," she said aloud, knowing the creature couldn't understand her words, but hoping her tone conveyed the right meaning. "You've been watching us, haven't you? Testing us." Sekthal's head tilted, and it began arranging small pieces of metal in complex formations. First, it created a cluster representing the local stellar group, then used larger fragments to show something approaching from the galactic rim, something vast and hungry, consuming everything in its path. The void swarm. Zara had read classified intelligence reports about the phenomenon that had devoured the Andromedan colonies, but she'd never imagined it was this close to their sector. Sekthal's claws scraped against metal as it arranged the pieces differently, showing fleet formations, but not just any fleets. These were integrated forces, human ships working alongside creatures that looked suspiciously like stylized Kefmer. The message was clear: cooperation, not conquest. You're not invaders. Zara whispered, understanding flooding through her. Your recruiters. The sound that emerged from Sekthal might have been agreement, a harmonic resonance that seemed to come from within its crystalline structure. It pointed one claw at the representations of the approaching darkness, then at the integrated fleets, then at Zara herself. She thought about her fallen team, about the 17 colonies that had been destroyed by Kethmer incursions. What if they hadn't been destroyed at all? What if they'd simply failed the test? Each attack would have been a trial by combat, an evaluation of worthiness according to some ancient warrior code. But humanity had passed. She had passed by recognizing the ritual for what it was instead of simply fighting or fleeing. Sekthal stood and moved to the viewport overlooking Kepler 442's scarred surface. In the distance, Zara could see the running lights of the rescue ships that had finally arrived, their cautious approach suggesting they'd detected the Kethmer's presence. She activated her comm unit. UES Valiant, this is Commander Okafor. Disarm weapons and approach slowly. I'm bringing a guest. 6 months after first contact. The war room aboard humanity's flagship, the UES Terra's shield, buzzed with tension thick enough to cut with a plasma torch. Admiral Hayes sat at the head of the conference table, his weathered face betraying none of the skepticism Zara knew he harbored. Around the table sat the leaders of Earth's various fleets, their uniforms crisp and their expressions ranging from fascination to barely concealed hostility. Sekthal dominated one corner of the room, its crystalline form somehow managing to convey respectful attention despite the lack of recognizable facial features. The translation device Dr. Martinez had developed created a soft, harmonic voice when the Kethmer spoke, eerily beautiful but undeniably alien. The void swarm has consumed the Rigel sector, Sekthal announced, its translated words filling the room with cold certainty. 14 inhabited systems, gone. The pattern matches the Andromedan consumption exactly. We estimate 18 months before it reaches the Sol system. General Park, Lieutenant Park's father. Zara noted with a pang, leaned forward aggressively. And we're supposed to trust the word of a creature whose species slaughtered my son, and thousands of others. Zara felt Sekthal's attention shift to her, a barely perceptible change in posture that she'd learned to read. During their months of collaboration, she stood, placing herself symbolically between the general and her alien ally. With respect, General, your son died in honorable combat. Sekthal has shared the recordings of that engagement with me. Your son lasted longer against a Kethmer than any human in recorded history. Nearly 23 minutes. By their standards, he died a warrior's death. That's supposed to make me feel better. Park's voice cracked with suppressed grief. It's supposed to help you understand that we're not dealing with mindless predators. Zara replied firmly. The Kethmer have been preparing the galaxy for this threat for over 3,000 years. Every species they've encountered has been tested for worthiness as potential allies. Most failed. Admiral Hayes cleared his throat. Commander Okafor, explain to us again why we should integrate these beings into our command structure. Sekthal spoke before Zara could respond. Because, Admiral Hayes, your species possesses something unique in the galaxy, the ability to see beyond surface appearances and recognize potential allies rather than only threats. Your Commander Okafor demonstrated this quality. It is why we judge humanity worthy. Fleet Captain Morrison, whose brother had died in the mining colony attack, stood abruptly. You killed thousands of our people as some kind of test, and now you want us to forget that and work together. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Sekthal's form shifted slightly, and Zara recognized the subtle signs of what passed for emotion among the Kethmer. I have personally taken the lives of 47 beings in trials of worthiness. Sekthal said quietly, I remember each name, each final moment. They died so that the galaxy might find champions worthy of standing against entropy itself. Their sacrifice was not meaningless, it was the most meaningful death possible. The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Hayes spoke. Show us these ship integrations you've proposed, Sekthal. If we're going to face this void swarm, we need to know exactly what we're working with. Asterisk. The shipyards above Luna had never seen anything like the construction taking place in their berths. Human engineering merged with Kethmer biotechnology in ways that defied conventional understanding of both. The UES Eternal Vigilance, flagship of the new integrated fleet, stretched 3 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull a seamless blend of human durasteel and living crystalline matrices that pulsed with their own inner light. Zara stood on the observation deck of the construction platform, watching as Kethmer technicians, if that's what they could be called, guided the growth of neural network conduits through the ship's superstructure. Beside her, Sekvil monitored the integration process with the patience of millennia. "The other Admiralty boards still don't trust you," Zara said quietly, watching a human engineering team work alongside their crystalline counterparts to install the new quantum displacement drives. 3 colonies have already requested emergency evacuation rather than accept Kethmer protection. "Fear is a rational response to the unknown," Sekvil replied. "But fear without understanding leads to stagnation. Your species will adapt, as they always have." Through the viewports, they could see the rest of the integrated fleet taking shape. Smaller vessels, destroyers, and cruisers incorporated Kethmer warriors directly into their command structure. The sight of 3-meter-tall crystalline beings working alongside human crews had caused riots on Titan Station just 2 weeks ago. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," announced Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. Zara accepted the feed, and Admiral Hayes's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim. "Commander, we've received disturbing intelligence from our deep space monitoring stations. A delegation from the Altarian Confederation is en route to Earth. They're demanding we surrender all Kethmer assets for immediate termination." Zara felt her stomach drop. The Altarians controlled 12 sector fleets and had mutual defense pacts with half the galaxy. On what grounds? They claim the Kethmer are an existential threat to galactic peace. They've been building a coalition among the major powers. Apparently, the Hegemony and the Tau Republic are considering joining them. Hayes paused, his weathered face showing the strain of command decisions. "Zara, they're threatening to declare war on humanity if we don't comply." Sekvil's form shifted almost imperceptibly, but Zara had learned to read the subtle changes in crystalline posture that indicated deep thought. "The Altarians were tested approximately 200 years ago," the Kethmer said finally. "They chose to flee rather than face trial by combat. Fear has festered in them since then." "Can we stand against the entire Galactic Alliance?" Zara asked, though she already knew the answer. "The integrated fleet will not be ready for 18 months, Sekvil replied. "But the Void Swarm will not wait for galactic politics. If the Alliance forces us to abandon the integration project," the creature's harmonic voice trailed off. But the implication was clear. Admiral Hayes leaned forward on the screen. "There's more, Commander. We've detected massive fleet movements in the Vega sector. Someone is massing forces for a preemptive strike against our shipyards." Zara looked out at the half-completed ships, at the human and Kethmer crews working together to create something unprecedented in galactic history. The irony was suffocating just as they were on the verge of creating a force capable of standing against the Void Swarm. The galaxy's fear would tear it apart. "How long do we have?" she asked. 6 days until the Altarian delegation arrives. Maybe 2 weeks before the assembled fleets reach Luna. Sekvil turned to face Zara, its cluster of diamond-black eyes reflecting the lights of the construction yard. "Commander Okafor, it is time for humanity to prove itself worthy not just in single combat, but as leaders of a galactic alliance." The confrontation came at the edge of the Sol system, where the deep space monitoring stations detected the approaching armada. 3 days before its scheduled arrival, over 800 ships from 12 different species formed a crescent of firepower that could have glassed the entire inner system. At their head, the Altarian dreadnought Cosmic Supremacy transmitted terms of surrender on all frequencies. Zara stood on the bridge of the U's Eternal Vigilance, its hybrid systems humming with power that felt almost alive beneath her feet. Around her, human and Kethmer crew members worked in perfect synchronization, their 2 species having found an unexpected harmony in the face of mutual extinction. Long-range sensors detect massive gravitational anomalies in the outer rim, reported Lieutenant Commander Singh from the sensor station. "Whatever the Void Swarm is, It's affecting spacetime itself as it approaches. The main screen split between the immediate threat of the Galactic Alliance fleet and the cosmic horror approaching from beyond mapped space. Dark tendrils of something that wasn't quite matter reached between star systems, and wherever they touched, stars simply stopped existing. Admiral Hayes is requesting a secure channel, announced the communications officer. Hayes's face appeared on screen, transmitted from Earth's orbital command station. Behind him, Zara could see the emergency session of the Planetary Council in heated debate. Commander, the Altarian delegation has made their position clear. They're offering us one final chance to surrender the Kethmer and dismantle the integrated ships. In exchange, they'll provide full military support against the Void Swarm. And if we refuse? Zara asked, though she already knew. They're prepared to eliminate Earth's fleet, to prevent what they call the Kethmer contagion from spreading. Hayes paused, the weight of command aging him visibly. Zara, I need to know, can we win this fight with just the integrated ships? We have. Before Zara could answer, Sekthal stepped forward, its crystalline form casting prismatic shadows across the bridge. Admiral Hayes, may I address the Altarian fleet directly? Hayes nodded grimly. Open a channel to all ships, Lieutenant. The bridge fell silent as Sekthal's harmonic voice filled the communication array, broadcasting to nearly 1,000 vessels across local space. I am Sekthal of the Eternal Watch, Herald of the Trial, speaker for my kind. To the assembled fleets, you face a choice that will define the next age of galactic civilization. Behind me approaches an enemy that has devoured 3 galaxies, a force of pure entropy that recognizes no distinction between species, no value in surrender. Your fear of the Kethmer has blinded you to the greater threat. The response came from the Altarian flagship. We know what you are, Predator. Your kind has terrorized the galaxy for millennia. We will not allow humanity to unleash you as a weapon. Then witness what we truly are. Sekthal replied. Across the integrated fleet, something extraordinary happened. The Kethmer crew members began to resonate in harmony, their crystalline bodies creating a song that transcended sound and entered the realm of pure mathematics. The hybrid ships responded, their living components awakening to something beyond mere technology. All ships, this is Commander Okafor, Zara announced, making the decision that would define humanity's future. We're taking the fleet to meet the Void Swarm directly. Any vessel that wishes to follow us into battle is welcome. Those who prefer to destroy us rather than trust us can try to stop us. The Eternal Vigilance surged forward, its quantum displacement drives bending space around it. Behind it, 47 integrated vessels, half human, half Kethmer. Entirely unique, formed a formation that had never been seen in the galaxy. As they passed through the Galactic Alliance fleet, something unprecedented occurred. One by one, ships began breaking formation to follow them. Not all, perhaps not even most, but enough. The hegemony's battle cruiser Indomitable was the first to join them, followed by 3 Tau Republic destroyers, then a wing of independent raiders who had heard Sekthal's words and recognized truth. Admiral Hayes appeared on screen one final time. Zara, you beautiful, terrifying woman. Earth's entire defense grid is powering up to support you. Give them hell, as the combined fleet human, Kethmer, and everything in between accelerated toward the edge of known space, where darkness waited to swallow the light. Zara realized that humanity's greatest test wasn't proving they could fight alongside the galaxy's deadliest predators, it was proving they could lead them. The Void Swarm reached out with tendrils of pure negation, and the galaxy's newest alliance rose to meet it, united not by fear, but by the simple recognition that some battles can only be won together. In the end, the galaxy's deadliest predator hadn't become humanity's weapon. Humanity had become its conscience.